Hey everybody, this is Steliakti with CloseOut, and today I want to talk about why you have to be unreasonable if you want to be successful in sales, entrepreneurship, and in my mind, even in life, right? So being reasonable is a good thing. Being reasonable universally is seen as a positive trait. But one thing I've recognized recently as I have been evaluating entrepreneurs and salespeople is that sometimes I just lean back and when I look at the way they interact with prospects or they interact with the world, one massive limiting factor I find with people that are struggling as salespeople or entrepreneurs is that they're too reasonable. And I started giving advice and telling people, you know what, your problem is you're not unreasonable enough. And that always gets people a reaction. So I want to talk a little bit about this, and hopefully it's going to help you be more successful and create more value. I picked up the dictionary definition of unreasonable, and the thing that really stood out to me, the thing that I want to read here, is that one of the definitions here is that being reasonable means going beyond the limits of what is acceptable, or not being guided, or you're not being guided by or based on good sense. So going beyond the things that are the limits of acceptable is really, I think, what sales and entrepreneurship is all about. Let me break it down for you for those that are like, what the hell is Steli talking about? In sales and entrepreneurship, you really are, at its core and essence, a change agent. You exist to make things change in the world. You exist to help others and to help people in the world at large to take a risk by changing what they're doing or by changing what they're thinking about doing or what choices they see as available and as proven, right? So let's narrow this down on sales specifically. There's already a million vendors out there. There's already a gazillion options out there. Why should a prospect choose your option, your product, your company as a vendor? Why should they go with you as a salesperson versus with you going with your competition? You're going to have to talk to them about alternative options or about the way things have always been or the standard available solutions to your prospect's problems. And you're going to have to convince them to choose your product, your solution, your company, or to choose or change the current vendor, the thing they have in place already, for something that will include risk, something that they are afraid of because there's some kind of a risk associated with it, or some kind of a change they need to make that could be risky. And if you buy into the reasons people give you, the reasonable reasons people give you why they're hesitant, why they're afraid, why they might not want to choose your option, when they give you the reasons that are reasonable for not progressing with you, the objections they have that a reasonable person could buy into, if you're too reasonable in those interactions, you're not going to be able to help them change. You're not going to be able to help them take worthwhile risks. You're not going to be able to convert them to customers. It's as simple as that. So let's run through a few examples, right? Pricing is a big one. If you want to be super hyper reasonable, if you listen to your prospects, no price is going to be good enough all the way down to zero, right? No matter what your price is, your customers and prospects will always come to you and tell you, hey, we like your solution, we want to use it, but it's a little bit expensive. Either we don't have the budget, we don't have enough revenue yet, we're just starting out, or there's other solutions out there that might not be as good as yours, but it's cheaper. And you could listen to all these things and go, you know what? It makes sense. That's reasonable. That's a reasonable concern. I don't have the money, or there's a cheaper solution, or I would like to have the product for a little less money. That makes total sense, right? They might ask you for features you don't have. Hey, I like your product, but it doesn't have feature XYZ. Hey, I like your product, but I only wish I would buy it if it only had this additional thing. And many times the things that they're going to request, the features they're going to want from you, they're going to be reasonable. You're going to agree with them. You're going to think, yeah, I get that you want that. Yeah, we also wanted to build this. Yeah, I also believe we should build this feature. We should have this as an additional service or whatever it is. If you listen to their concerns about your size or maturity or your history as a company, especially when you're a startup. Oftentimes prospects will have the problem or the fear that you've not been around for long enough. There's a much bigger vendors out there, and they're going to come to you and they're going to say, you know what, we like your solution, but man, you're not the gold standard in this space. You have not been around for decades. You don't have a massive brand. You're not a Fortune 500 company. And although I like your solution better than your competitors has been around for a really long time. And again, reasonable salespeople, reasonable entrepreneurs, they will agree with that. They will think, yeah, you know what? She or he is right. We've not been around for 10 years. We just started 6 months ago, 9 months ago, a year ago. And it's reasonable to be afraid of working with us. People will have objections like, you know what? I would love to talk to you, but I don't have the time. You know what? We would love to explore your solution or product, but it's not a priority right now. All these things are reasonable reasons not to purchase, not to talk to you, not to go with your solution. Or you know what? We have a solution today in place. It's not good, but it's already in place. And if we switched, we're afraid that things could break. It could create friction. What if things go wrong? Everybody's going to blame me as the person that internally championed switching from our current way of doing things to using your service or product or working with your company. If you're too reasonable, you're going to be agreeing with them. And if you agree with them deep down, if you think, oh, well, shit, they're right, you're not going to be convincing in changing their mind or helping them take the necessary risk, make change happen and switch to your solution or take the leap of faith to purchasing your product. You have to be a little unreasonable to make that happen. You have to be a little unreasonable to make any change in the world happen. Think about this. You're walking around the world. The world is filled with things that have been around forever. Who are the people that make changes happen? Who are the people that invent new solutions, that imagine a new future for all of us? It's the unreasonable ones. It is people that are unreasonable, that look at things and go, yeah, I get it. This is the way things work, and this is the reason why people don't do this, but I have a better solution. Change will be worth it. The reward and the opportunity of change is larger than the risk of change. You have to be unreasonable. You have to be able to lean back, look them in the eye, or listen to them carefully and go, I understand where you're coming from. And here's why I believe you should still go with our solution. Yes, our price is higher than our competition. Here's why I believe the value we create for you is worth it. Yes, I understand we're lacking this feature, but if we dig a little bit deeper, here's why I believe the features we have already, the value we can deliver to you already is so good, is so high that you should purchase today, not wait around till we have all the features in the world. Yes, I understand that we're a new company, but you know what? The established player you're considering today, they were a young new player 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? They were a startup. Every established business today was a startup at one point. And this is where we are today, right? And we believe we're going to be around for the long term. You have to ask of people things that go beyond reason, go beyond what's acceptable, go beyond what's established, what's safe, what's proven. You're going to ask people to do things that feel a little risky to them. You need to be a little more unreasonable. And if you have that attitude when you come into the conversation, if you go, I understand that the world is the way it is, understand that you think you don't have the money, you don't have the time, I understand you think we don't have all the features set or we have not been around for long enough, but here's why you should purchase despite all of that. Here's why I believe this is worth it. This is going to work. If you don't have that attitude of being a little unreasonable and asking of them more than the established worldview, asking of them more than the average competitor of yours asks them to. Ask of them something that might seem a little crazy, a little risky, a little out there, anything that goes beyond their comfort zone. If you don't come into the conversations with being willing to be somebody that's a rule breaker, somebody that is going to expand the horizon of what's acceptable and reasonable and define it in a new way and expand that comfort layer and zone that people are in and the world is living in, you are going to fail, because in every interaction you have, or in most of them, your prospects are going to convince you that the best thing to do is to keep the status quo. And if they convince you of that, if you buy into that, if you allow them to sell you on the status quo versus you selling them on the new future, on change, on taking opportunities, even if they have a little risk involved with them, you are going to fail ultimately, especially if you're involved in selling the future, if you're involved in selling something unproven, something new, something innovative, something exciting, something rule-breaking and groundbreaking. So ask yourself, is the market not really responding to what you do? Are your prospects not really buying? Are your conversations not really converting because you've built something that's shit, because the market is so competitive, or because you're not unreasonable enough? Right? We launched Close.io in 2013 in the most competitive category in software, CRM, customer relationship management, the biggest category and the most crowded category in SaaS, in subscription software. And today it's even more crowded than ever before. And today the good and bad news is that if you're in software, no matter what category you have, sooner or later it's going to be incredibly crowded. If you don't stand out by asking of the market more than the average person, if you're not a little unreasonable in your attitude, in the way that you interact with people, you will struggle and ultimately fail. I hope this is a little bit of a wake-up call to people. It's not about destroying value. I'm not talking about stealing from customers, lying to them, telling them that they should purchase something that doesn't create value. If you noticed, in anything I've laid out to you, I never said sell although the price doesn't warrant the value you create. Sell although the features you have are not creating any kind of benefit. Sell although you believe your company is not going to be around for another day, right? You're already almost bankrupt. I didn't say that. But what I said is you have to be a little bit unreasonable. If you're too reasonable, you're going to suffer, and you're not really made out for entrepreneurship and sales. You're not really made out to be a change maker. And that needs to be the framework, the attitude, the mindset you go into every single day and into every single conversation. All right, that's it from me. I want to hear from you now. Shoot me an email, stelly@close.io, and tell me what you think about all this. And if you have not yet done this, make sure to go to blog.close.io, subscribe to our blog twice a week, highly tactical and strategic advice for startup founders, for entrepreneurs, for new and growing and changing businesses all around the world. Until next time, let's go and get them.